Well, and up next, thank you, Erica. Up next, we have Nathan Voght, who is the Economic Development Specialist, the Washtenaw County Office of Community and Economic Development. Hope I said that right.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Nathan Voght. I'm with the Office of Community and Economic Development with Washtenaw County and heading up the Reimagine Washtenaw Avenue initiative. And so tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Basically, this is an effort that's about 4 or 5 years running, and the county's been kind of the providing the leadership in this effort. It is multi-jurisdictional. To transform the spine of Washtenaw Avenue, connecting the city of Ann Arbor and the city of Ypsilanti into a mixed use, more attractive, bikeable, walkable corridor all around public transit. The number 4 bus is kind of the main route there, and efficient mass transit is the key. We've got a lot of partners that have been involved from day one with this effort. Of course, the 4 local units, City of Ann Arbor, Pittsfield Township, Ypsilanti Township, and the City of Ypsi. We wouldn't be anywhere without AATA at the table, or MDOT. It's an MDOT road, and so they're involved as well. And we've recently involved the Chamber more to engage the business community and other partners. This is the study area that we're talking about. It's the Stadium Washtenaw split and all the way down to the water tower. Again, about a 4.5-mile stretch, and again, really the spine of the transportation hub for the county. Assets, a lot of transit riders, a lot of housing density, providing the connections for many employees and shoppers, people heading to various destinations. But a really important transportation hub for us. Highway access, existing infrastructure, challenges. It is crossing 4 jurisdictions, and so that's why the county has played a key role in just kind of keeping everybody moving in the same direction and providing that leadership. Congestion. It is a real issue, as the mayor pointed out. In fact, we just met with our consultant this morning on our right-of-way study, which I'll talk about. If in the no-build scenario for this roadway, if traffic continues as SEMCOG and as the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study believes it will, we'll have failing intersections by 2020. We've already got one that's basically failing, and we're going to have more. So something's got to change, and hopefully through these efforts, it will. Sidewalk gaps, so infrastructure in terms of walking and biking, no bike lanes, all challenges. There is no there's no sense of place. It's a place that no one really is drawn to or attracted to. It's kind of a road that we tolerate because we kind of have to get off at 23 and go into Ann Arbor, or maybe go to EMU or whatever. And then lack of safe pedestrian facilities is an issue, not just the sidewalks, but how people get across to a bus stop on the other side of the street, or how people get across to the Whole Foods. We don't have enough facilities for those pedestrians to do that reasonably and safely. So I love this picture. This was sent to me from AATA. This is a poor guy trying to navigate, the roadway in the 70s, and you can see these very wide lanes that were built. You can see the lack of sidewalks, the multiple driveways, all are centered around the automobile. Really, no thought or consideration for walkers or bikers. And if you look at these big 1970s cars, those lanes are still 5 feet wider than those cars at that time. So, and you'll see. Nothing's much changed today. We still kind of have those really excessively wide travel lanes, no bike facilities. The sidewalks are filled in a little bit more compared to 1975, let's say, but you can still see wide stretches where there's just no sidewalks. So in terms of where we've come, we are really beyond planning and visioning. We're kind of in implementation, but there has been a significant effort to involve the stakeholders, involve the businesses, involve the communities, involve everybody that has a stake in the future of this roadway. And in 2009, this document on the left was developed, which really outlined a general vision for what the community wanted for the corridor. And then we further developed a 2010 corridor redevelopment strategy, which gave us actionable steps and areas that we were going to focus on to achieve that vision. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Basically, the implementation strategy talks about a mixed-use corridor. It's already mixed use, but at certain areas, we really want to look at vertical mixed use, not just a house here and a store here, but vertical mixed use, higher density, and creating special places at key redevelopable intersections. And I'll talk a little bit about nodes, but that's the concept of nodes. And then transit-oriented development. It's been a buzzword, and I think it's something we're focused on in terms of if the transit gets more reliable and increases in usage, which we all know it will, how do we integrate adjacent development better with those transit stops? How do we make the transit stops more usable for the transit users? And that's why AATA is at the table and involved with our effort, and you'll see more TOD in the future. And then the importance of connecting the adjacent neighborhoods. If you've ever seen this corridor and seen the adjacent apartment complexes, they're kind of there, but they're kind of separated. And so we need to do a better job of connecting those people to the corridor and letting them move about the corridor more easily. And why are we doing this? Why does it make sense? For all the reasons that we've kind of already talked about, but providing more choice for people. Why should we force people to get in a car maybe when they don't want to? Affordability, healthier lifestyle, the things we've been talking about. From an economic development standpoint, I talked to the scuba shop owner a few months ago, and he says, I could close my shop between 4 and 6 every day. I don't even need to be open. And so you can imagine what, if things continue with the way they're going, it is an economic issue for the businesses along the corridor, and so we need to address it. And then the kind of the workforce housing, there's a lot of workforce housing out on this corridor, and luckily we have a great transit option for them, but we need more housing options. Why not open it up to seniors or young families, families with kids? So there's a lot of opportunity to provide more diverse housing and then provide that connection to their jobs through public transit. Won't go into this in great detail, but I just wanted to touch on, in terms of our strategy, what are we doing? We're working on land use with all of the units and making sure that the zoning is updated and that we're getting the development patterns that align with the vision that the community has. Mixed use, zero lot line or close to zero lot line at the nodes, decreased parking requirements, putting the parking not in front but on the side, sidewalk infill, et cetera. The transportation, again, we're building this corridor around efficient transit, so continuing to work with AATA to increase the reliability of the transit, making sure transit is a priority and not the vehicle, the single occupant vehicle necessarily. And so there's things we're working on to make that happen. And then the cooperation. Again, we have 4 jurisdictions. We've got a great model that's for 4 or 5 years been working. How do we take that to the next level? What options do we have, and what role does the county play in that? So just visually, I don't want to belabor this too much, but if you're a planner in the audience, you've probably seen these. These are kind of used quite a bit, but very typical declining shopping center sort of situation on Washtenaw Avenue at some points. And you can see the dramatic difference that doing infill, zero setback, walkability, mixed use, higher density, really impacts the economics of the center, the walkability, sense of place, and there's even higher density. And then here's one more example, Oakland, California, typical thoroughfare that you might see with kind of legacy characteristics. And then you can really see the dramatic change that occurs when you just add some streetscape elements, some better ped facilities, mixed use, adding value to the street. And then a potential future where, is there light rail down the middle of Washtenaw Avenue? Is there a dedicated transit lane, bus rapid transit? What in 20, 30 years, what might we have? So that's certainly something that is possible. So just using one example, everybody I think is familiar with Arbor Hills, which is across from Whole Foods. This is the first kind of large development that has gone through the kind of the updated zoning standards in the city of Ann Arbor that really tried to align itself with the Reimagine Washtenaw vision, and specifically, the buildings are up to the street, there's transparency to the buildings, so from a walkability standpoint, you really start to engage people walking on the street. Studies have shown people walk about 70 feet before they'll just turn around if there's nothing to engage them and provide some interest. So this goes a long way in doing that, and this will set a new tone, I think, for the corridor. Just in terms of progress, AATA's, again, been a partner. This is the new bus pull-off and shelter at Arbor Hills that you'll see. There will be a new traffic signal and new ped crossings at Platt Road, which will really enhance the walkability and safety for that area. They've doubled the weekday service, and number 4, which has led to an increase by 20% of the ridership in the last year. MDOT, I'm sure you've noticed this, the wide multi-use path under this huge barrier that was a barrier, which is the overpass. Now we have a safer way, much safer way for people to get through there. A lot of sidewalk infill going on by the local units. This is Pittsfield Township. This is at Gulfside, so Pittsfield and Ipsy Township. This is the road diet that on this crossroad, Gulfside Road went through, which really changes, again, the character. And so what we're doing now is, again, land use, working with all the local units to update their standards, looking at design guidelines. When it comes to sense of place, the design guidelines are really key in getting the details right. This corridor right-of-way study, there will be some public workshops at the end of May, which you'll hear about. Very excited about those. Transportation demand management is all about working with large employers and working with them on strategies to help those peak hours, which are really the problem for the roadway, and reducing the volume at those peak hours. Transit signal priority will allow buses to hold a signal green. So if they're behind schedule and they're coming up to a light and it would have turned red, they can actually hold it green and get through it. That's TSP, or transit signal priority. We're working on that, and that'll be implemented hopefully in a couple of years. Engaging the business community, as I mentioned. The West Side has now formed an association. We've got a series of developer roundtables that we're holding to engage the development community. And again, AATA continues to, I call it their project, but the investment in Route 4 that they've made. Thank you.